If you are a new fan to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and need a star to follow, I think I got the guy for you. He's a former UFC Fight Pass Athlete of the Year, the only man to be 5-0 under the UFC Fight Pass Invitational banner, former Submission Underground champion. Mason Fowler, if we give you any more accolades on this show, I think we're going to have to bring out Bruce Buffer or somebody to do it because, the long list of accomplishments, it only gets longer.
Man, you're making me blush. Keep going.
I mean, you shine once again on the FPI stage. You get a big win over Pedro Marinho, which, by the way, I talk about stars in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If we're going to have people blow up this sport, it's going to be athletes like yourself that come out there and bring a fight. Michael Chiesa and BMAC on commentary were talking about how your match was actually kind of shaping up like a fight with Pedro. Did it feel like a fight as it was unfolding?
Oh yeah, man. My shin is still all swelled up. I got a little golf ball on my shin. My mouth was bleeding. I could taste my own blood. My lip was split, and my arms were fatiguing. Your legs are fatiguing. We kept smacking each other. My neck was sore. So yeah, it felt like a fight. The next day felt like I was in a fight the day before too.
I mean, so much for the gentle art, right? Like this is a bit of warfare that can test your not only like your technique but your heart, and I think that was really exciting. Did you expect this type of pace from Pedro?
Yeah, that's exactly the type of match that I personally wanted. My coach Kai Otera, he's like more of a traditional like gentle art jiu-jitsu type of guy, like pulling guard and doing all kinds of slick technical jiu-jitsu off his back. And the whole training camp, he was telling me, like Mason, you should pull guard. You should use jiu-jitsu. You shouldn't make it a fight. And I'm like, no, I want to just wrestle this dude and scrap with him. He's like, man, you're playing into his game. And I'm like, that's my game too. So it played out. The way that I thought it would. And maybe I should have listened to my professor because maybe it would have been a little easier if I would have tried to play a little more technical.
Sometimes the harder way is more fun for everybody watching. So,
Yeah.
It was fun, and we did see your technical jiu-jitsu. We saw you play rubber guard. Chiesa was talking about that. Like BMAC brought it up too. You tend to play more rubber guard than some of the high-level, standout 10th Planet guys do.
Yeah, I think the most important part, and this is what I always say about rubber guard, the most important thing about playing rubber guard is to not let that be your only form of offense. If that's the only way you can win matches, then you're not really going to be able to display it at a high level. You got to be good standing. You got to be good playing open guard, close guard. You got to be good passing. You got to be good everywhere. So I think that's why I'm able to showcase rubber guard is because I have a complete game.
Yeah, we saw that complete game as well in this last fight with Pedro because it goes the distance, if you will. It gets to overtime where points come in play, and then he was threatening with that foot sweep. He got you down for a brief moment. You pop back up. You secure the position. But you never stopped going for the submission. Like, yeah, you were up on points, but at the end of the day, it's a submission grappling tournament. You go in there and you want to get the submission. You got it. Walk me through the ending sequence because you were going for that head and arm, and there was a couple times where the referee had to, resettle you because if you were going to pop off to side the way you're supposed to finish that choke, you're literally hanging off the edge of the cliff. Like, was that difficult?
Yeah, I will say, of course, I'm always looking for the submission no matter what. But on top of that, UFC does give a little submission bonus, so money motivates, So I was it was a short time, and I was like, man, I'm trying to get that extra check. So it all worked out. But yeah, in order to finish the head and arm choke, you can finish it from the mount, but it's a lot more difficult. So you want to get off to the side, and you want to angle yourself away from your opponent. And we were right there on the edge of the mat. So I actually had it really tight at one point, but I couldn't continue angling myself. But with that being said, I rewatched the match, and the guys on the side that were holding us up did a great job because if they weren't there or if they just weren't doing what they were supposed to do, there's a good chance I could have fallen off the mats and then not gotten paid my submission bonus. So I'm thankful that those guys were there. It was Sean Fowler and a couple other guys that were holding us up because I was able to maintain the position, and then the ref did the right thing, reset us in the middle, and he reset us in the correct position as well. I was worried that, guys always try to cheat the restart a little bit. So I was worried about the reset. Like, dang, I had it in a really good position. He put us back in the correct position, and then I was able to get the submission. So everyone did their job. Everything worked out the way it was supposed to, and luckily I got the tap.
Yeah, you got that submission, and again, another sterling night for yourself, not only on the FPI stage, but just the Fight Pass stage as a whole. Whether we go back to the Submission Underground days or what you've done here on the FPI, what is it about this platform for you, Mason, that just when the lights are on UFC Fight Pass, like you come out in a very, very big way?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few losses at the black belt level. One of them was in the gi. Two of them were at ADCC, and one was in another tournament-style event. But for the most part, I've never lost an actual super fight. So maybe there's something to be said about having one individual match. I'm undefeated in super fights. When there's a tournament and there's 8 guys and it's the best guys in the world, if you lose focus for 1 second, then you're going to lose the match. So I guess I'm able to really lock in for those like 10 or 15 minutes. And so hopefully I can just keep it going.
And I think that's what's really exciting about the FPI platform. Obviously, you've been a part of a tournament there. You won the FPI 3 absolute bracket. But, the idea that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu can be promoted similar to that of a fight night, and you get these super fights, and you can prepare and conduct yourself as a professional athlete and just take one fight at a time, I think that's really important. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And just from a production standpoint and an entertainment standpoint, I mean, the tournaments are cool from an entertainment standpoint as well. But I will say this last FPI, I think, was one of the best grappling cards of all time, if not the best, as far as the star power and the matches and the performances, the submission rate. The only thing that could have made it bigger is if, of course, if we had Gordon on there, right? Because Gordon is the biggest star in the sport still, even though he's not active. But besides that, I mean, Craig, Nikki, Marigali, myself, Pedro, Victor Hugo, man, it was stacked and every match delivered.
Yeah, you're naming stars, and no offense to Gordon Ryan at all, because he is the greatest to do it. He is the poster child for the sport right now. But he's been going through some tough times off the mat. He says he wants to get healthy. I feel like guys like yourself have done a wonderful job at sort of picking up the proverbial slack, if you will, because you're going out there putting on a good show. Nicky Rod, who he seems interested in fighting you. He had a phenomenal performance. I feel like, yes, Gordon Ryan is obviously the poster star for submission grappling, but we're starting to get more and more personalities that can perform on and off the mat, Mason, that are captivating the people that are tuning in, whether Gordon's there or not.
Yeah, and what we're seeing too is a lot of guys are just doing a great job of marketing themselves, utilizing this tool of social media that we have. I think I've done a pretty good job as far as marketing myself, creating content, throwing. I do a lot of whether it's funny videos or like short instructional videos. I try to put a lot of content out, and I've seen me personally, my own career, my seminars, the interest that people have to want to see me compete has grown exponentially, and I think that's a big part of that is a result from all of the content that I've been putting out. And obviously, a guy like Craig Jones is doing it way better than me, obviously, and he's grown the same way exponentially through his seminars. I'm sure he's getting, probably 6 figures to compete. And it's because people want to watch him because they follow his content. So for the young athletes that are out there, take note, because you don't have to be the best guy in the world to get paid more than the best guys in the world. It's all about people that want to see you compete. Right. If Jake Paul were to do a grappling match, he would probably make more money than all of us, right? So take notes and start, putting yourself out there and try to build a following, because that following and people wanting to see you, that's what's going to get you paid, not actually being the best in the world.
I mean, it is called prize fighting, right? And obviously the ultimate prize, I guess, is becoming a world champion. But you can buy all the prizes you want if you can make all the money you can. And it's just getting people to care. And I think you've done a phenomenal job doing that, whether or not it's Nicky Rod on a future FPI or, just any of the other great names that are coming up. I think when Mason Fowler, I mean, I know when Mason Fowler's on UFC Fight Pass, you got to tune in. You're must see TV. But have you been given any word on what might be next? I mean, Nicky Rod, he said your name in his post-fight interview with Chiesa. Do you feel like that could be a matchup that happens sooner rather than later?
Yeah, I mean, for the longest time, we've been like right there. We've been in the same bracket 2 times, but we haven't met. We've gotten offers throughout the years, and especially recently, I know that the UFC has had a lot of interest in putting that match together. We actually were really close to competing against each other in the main event of an FPI last year, and the whole FPI ended up getting canceled. So I know that the UFC wants it. I know that Nicky's down. I'm down. Gordon's out now, so this is what I've been saying ever since I accepted the match with Pedro Murillo. Gordon's out, so I'm not going to sit here and try to nitpick opponents or anything like that. Let's do the biggest matches. Let's get the biggest, toughest guys. And we can all agree Nicky Rod is one of the biggest, toughest guys, right? So let's make it happen. Fuck it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you touched on it. I mean, that's a main event fight. That's not a fight that happens in the middle of a tournament bracket where both of you guys need to win a match. Like that's the fight. That's a fight that sells an entire event. And, man, I really do hope that we get that. We've seen some change and some evolution throughout the UFC Fight Pass Invitationals. Rules have been changed. We had points. What were your thoughts on this point system and how they implemented them at the FPI 6?
I mean, the matches speak for themselves, right? When you have an event that goes that way, that ends in almost all finishes, and even the matches that weren't finishes were super exciting, super high-paced, and what we didn't see is we didn't see the rule set get in the way of the grappling, right? Which is kind of what we saw on the last event, which was, far too many penalties. We all agree on that. And what we don't want to see is we don't want to see the rule set deciding the match or the rule set getting in the way of the high-level grappling. So I think what we saw was high-level grappling. The refs were letting us go. They were giving us stern warnings, but they were letting us grapple, and they were letting us figure it out. And, yeah, I think the matches speak for themselves.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see what match might be next for you, Mason. Appreciate the time. Best of luck moving forward. And whenever we get a date and a name, I'm sure we'll have you back, and we'll be chatting all about it.
Thank you so much, TJ. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.